Hey everyone, this is going to be a little comparison video comparing a couple of different kinds of shade adjusting foundations. And there are several of these out on the market right now, and the basic concept behind them is that when you maybe squirt them out on your finger or when you get them right out of the container, they appear to be colorless. Basically, they might be like a creamy consistency or something like that, but there are little particles in these foundations that claim to magically adjust to your skin tone. And I've tried out a couple, and I'm going to just compare them for you and kind of give you my take on what I like best. The first one is Wet n Wild Intuitive Blend foundation, and the other one is the Almay Smart Shade makeup. Okay, so just to take you through the description of the Wet n Wild, this is fairly new out in stores, and by the way, packaging is extremely similar, but anyway, this says breakthrough shade adjusting technology starts out white and adjusts to match your exact shade. Unique primer properties soothe and perfect skin with a silky, flawless finish. And the way this works, this was actually the first item of this type that I had tried. And so you just squirt it out on your finger, and it does appear to be white. It appears, you know, just like sort of a lotion or a moisturizer. And I don't know if you can see the little like beads that are in that. And when you touch the beads, they basically break open to give you sort of a, I'm trying to best show this to you. They break apart and you end up getting like a creamy beige kind of foundation shade, okay? So the little beads break apart and you've got foundation. It is a very, very light coverage. Like, if anybody created something instead of like a tinted moisturizer but called it like a tinted primer, that would be probably exactly what this is. It's very, very light. I don't get a lot of coverage with it. I've only worn it a few times because I really didn't have a lot of times when I only wanted to feel like I was wearing a primer with hardly any color on my skin. The little beads, it's like, I almost think that it would be better if there were maybe more beads, or the beads were a little bit like finer, like not quite the size of like a cake sprinkle like those were, those little round balls, you know. And I think if there were more of those, you would get more color and therefore more coverage with it. So really, for me, I didn't think this was worth it for someone who is going out thinking they're getting a foundation and then they get this and they don't get the coverage they want. So this was around $5. Which is, I mean, if you're used to buying Wet n Wild products, that's sort of towards the more expensive end of Wet n Wild. So, you know, you're not out a lot of money, but I really feel like, you know, it had a nice feel of a primer, but it felt kind of slick, like my face felt kind of slick afterwards, and I don't know, I just really didn't enjoy the coverage I got. It was not much at all. So then I tried the Almay Smart Shade makeup because I kind of got into this little like obsessive feeling like, can one of these foundations work? Are they all like this? I just had a hunch that they weren't, so I wanted to try the Almay Smart Shade. And by the way, the shade that I tried in the Wet n Wild was light, and the shade that I got in this was light medium. There are generally only a few shades that you have to choose from with these, okay? And with the Almay, I kept my packaging. This didn't really come in a package, but with the Almay product here, it actually says on the packaging, magically transforms into your ideal shade. I really don't think there's any magic to this, guys, because if there was, then there would only be one. Oops, you wouldn't have to pick from light, medium, or light, or dark, or whatever. You know, it would just, you know, it would truly be magic if you could just pick one up and it would work for your skin tone. So basically, you pick from a general color family, and it's only going to get so light or so dark. Now, you may enjoy just only having to pick from like 2 or 3 options. I mean, I'll admit that made it a lot easier for me to just pick light medium rather than picking from classic beige and true beige and creamy beige and fresh beige. You know, it really, really simplified. I don't know why I can't hold on to it, but it simplified the process a lot. So even though you do have a choice to make, it's not a hard choice. So anyway, with this particular one, excuse me, this is the Almay Smart Shade, and it does have an SPF 15. What did the Wet n Wild? I don't think the Wet n Wild had an SPF in it. Not that it doesn't say it on the packaging anyway. So with this is more along the lines of the concept that I was thinking would work better. This appears just a little bit beige actually already on my fingers, and it has very, very fine little bitty particles in there that look, you know, tinier than a grain of sand. Absolutely, they just look like little bitty particles, and basically there's more of them than there are those little bead looking things that were in the Wet n Wild. And basically you just rub that and it goes from the creamy white to actually a foundation shade there. So as I rub it on my fingers, I don't know how well that's showing up, but it is just like a nice beige foundation shade. And really, I mean, I don't think it's gonna transform magically past that shade. I mean, you put it on and it is not a super full coverage foundation. I would call this like a medium coverage. I would call the Wet n Wild like light to no coverage, and I would call this more of a medium coverage because it gives you more color on your face. But I mean, they really couldn't pull this off if there was, you know, there was tons of color coming through on the foundation, you know. I mean, then it would be a little more obvious if you were off. So I think they make it a little more of that medium coverage so it can work for multiple skin tones and appear to adjust, even though it's really only going to get so light or so dark depending on that color family that you get: light, medium, dark, whatever. But I'm wearing the Almay today, and I was really happy with the coverage it gave me. And I thought, you know, if you have generally fairly clear skin, or you have skin, I mean, you don't like the feeling of a thick foundation, I think you'll like this a lot. It's less coverage than Color Stay or the Rimmel Lasting Finish, but I think you can really get by with that. I mean, if you don't have problematic skin, or you don't have a lot of things you want to cover up, and it's also summertime and that lighter feel is nice. Also, if you top that off with a loose powder, I really like the finish that gives. So I think you'll be happy with the Almay Smart Shade if this is something you're looking for. If you don't like searching through the stores to try to find the ideal shade, or you feel like there's too much to choose from and you just want it to be simplified, I think you will enjoy this type of foundation. But just be aware, there's really not that much magic going on here. These are set to the, you know, the little particles basically burst as you blend, and it will turn into a shade that I think will work for most skin tones, depending on which shade you pick. So anyway, the Almay was probably around $12. This was about, oops, they're so slick. This was like $5, so more than double the price, but I think you're going to be saving yourself in the long run, because I think you're really going to use this, and you're probably going to like this a lot better. This I will probably hardly use at all from the Wet n Wild. So anyway, that's good. Oh, one other very important point. If you love to use like a stippling brush for your foundation, I would not recommend using one of those with this makeup, simply because I think these really act off of your hand touching your face, and really in a more firm motion than a light stippling brush is going to give you, you know, really works it into your skin and allows those little particles to, you know, release the color. So I would recommend using your hands to apply these foundations, just because it lets that happen, and I think you get the most even coverage that way. The stippling brush is so light, I wonder if it would even cause the Wet n Wild stuff to, those little particles to burst. Now, one additional little bonus review here is for the Almay Smart Shade Concealer that they have. So that's little, and it's the SPF 15. I got it in light. My foundation was light medium, but I thought for this it may be a good under eye product, so I went just a hair lighter than the foundation. And I'm wearing that today, but I did put my Kat Von D Tattoo Concealer over some parts, because I just don't think this is quite good enough coverage to be a concealer. It's not hardly any more coverage. I couldn't quite tell you for sure that this is more coverage than this, and that's a problem. You want your concealer to be a little bit heavier coverage, because I mean, you want it to cover up things that your foundation couldn't. And I have a little problem with this on that level. It's the same concept too. I mean, you squirt it out of the tube and it's gonna look, you know, sort of like that. You put it on and it turns into, you know, a creamy, just light kind of shade. So I'm not so sure that this is worth it if you are looking to cover up some problems like the under eye circles. I even struggled. I have some like kind of broken capillaries right there around my nose, and I struggled to really cover those up with this either. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend the concealer, but I do enjoy the foundation quite a bit from Almay. So if you're willing to spend, you know, more than double the price of this, $12 still isn't bad, and I do think you will get use out of this and enjoy it. So thank you guys so much for tuning in for this video. Sorry if I got a little long-winded on some of these, but it is sort of a hard concept to describe, a shade adjusting foundation. But hopefully this informs you the next time you go to the drugstore and you'll find something you like. So thanks for watching and have a great day.